Today in this video, I'm going to be talking about the essential softwares that you will need to run your very own home care agency. Let's check it out. My name is Scott McKenzie and welcome to my channel. I am the founder of a home care agency called Golden Age Companions based in Irvine, California. We have incorporated in 2011 and have generated over $8 million of total revenue. I also am the founder of a company called Home Care Agency Blueprint, and that company is designed to coach you on how to start, own, and operate and scale your own home care agency. So let's jump in here. Today I want to talk about the softwares that you'll need on running your home care agency, and I'm going to go on an overview of which softwares are absolutely necessary, and stay tuned till the end of the video because I have a bonus. Alrighty, so here we are with the software overview. These are all the essential softwares that you will need to run your own home care agency. Now, I'm going to go on a variation of each one of them, and I'll do like an overview. And in regards to what you choose, there's different variations, there's different types of softwares of each one of these. These are essentially the categories. So, you know, in my home care agency blueprint program, not only do we do the coaching, we do have programs that we can set all of this up for you. So if you do decide to work with me and my team, we can assist you in getting this set up. So I'll just jump in here. My goal on these videos are to add value, whether you choose to work with me or you're just looking at getting in this home care industry. I want to add value, and that's my goal in these videos. So the first thing is, in softwares, you essentially have a scheduling software, you got to have a payroll software, invoicing, a CRM and HR type of platform. And so I'm just going to jump in on each one of them here. So for scheduling software, that is generally, there's softwares out there, there's about a dozen of them or more that they are designed to utilize to schedule the caregivers, and some of them have more things built into them. Some have invoicing built in and payroll calculation. That's generally an external system that you're using for that, or a provider. The way that it's set up for Golden Age Companions is we use WellSky, which they're actually a pretty good platform. They've been around for a very long time. They don't have AI yet, and that's something I can't wait for a software to have, because AI is really kind of taking off, of course, right now, as everybody knows. So yeah, scheduling software, that's, essentially think of that as that's where you're putting the clients inside of there, and you're also adding the caregivers in there, and then you're scheduling. So like the care plan also goes inside of WellSky, so you know what the care needs are. Think of it as like your main hub for your home care business. So the clients are in there, the caregivers go in there. When you're scheduling, that's where you schedule inside of that software, the clients going on the shifts. And then just kind of like jumping ahead down here, this EVV, essentially what that is that's a way of tracking that the caregiver actually showed up, and there's compliance and regulations around that. In the scheduling software that you choose, whether it is WellSky or another one, then you can, they have that actually built inside of there. They all have that. So that's nothing that you've got to worry about. There's different ways they can check in on the shift through the app. They can call in. There's all kinds of ways. And that's kind of like the electronic health records. Often scheduling softwares, they're a hub, so they include like everything to make sure that that your client's information, caregiver's information, is safe inside of there. So like the scheduling software, that's like your main hub. That's, you know, clients go in there, caregivers go in there, you schedule the caregivers. That's what you're in all the time on, having your caregivers on the schedule. And then the payroll gets calculated on the hours that your caregivers are clocking in and out. That's where there's the payroll tab, and they get, I'm kind of speaking generically for almost all these softwares have it. They just all do it a little bit differently. But like for WellSky, there's a payroll tab that you go to, and you know, you set up your pay periods ahead of time. You know, say it's every 2 weeks or every Friday or however you decide to pay your caregivers, and then you can it'll calculate the payroll for you, and then that's where you use a payroll processor. So this is like an ADP. We've used OnPay before. I mean, Paychecks. There's so many of them, and actually I have a whole list. And so so basically once when your caregivers are calculated on their payroll, then you would send that information off to the payroll processor, and then they process the payroll. Invoicing and billing is similar. Like we do invoicing and billing every Monday for our home for Golden Age Companions, and we invoice for the week prior. So for every Monday we're invoicing for care that's already been rendered, and in this type of business you want to do that because you don't want to assume that a caregiver is going to be there or a shift's been completed when it hasn't. It's really important to make sure that you're invoicing correctly, that exactly what was provided care on for your client. So the invoice and billing kind of go hand in hand. I know WellSky has that built in as well, and then they have an external that you can actually invoice inside of their system, and then it'll post it in receivables, and then you would export all of your like accounts receivable to say like a QuickBooks. So that's how that kind of works on the invoicing. Some other companies, they just generate the invoices, and then you would manually go into like a invoicing processing, like a payment processor, like even like Stripe or something, and you would bill them, and then mark that invoice as paid and send it to them. So there's so many different ways of doing it. Ideally it's best to have it set up all electronic, where you're essentially sending off the invoices to the families, and they're able to pay them right online through the link. They could view the invoice, view when the caregivers were there, and all that stuff. So that's that. Payment processor, kind of already went over that. That's essentially, you know, ACH, for those of you that don't know what that means automatic clearinghouse. That's essentially when somebody pays electronically with an electronic check with their bank account. And generally ACH is a lot cheaper. That could be as cheap as 75 cents a transaction when you're taking payment through ACH. If you're taking payment through credit card, you're getting charged 2.25 to 3.5%, depending on what provider that you're using. So that's also something there to consider. Now this is kind of like, think of this scheduling software. That's your hub for scheduling the caregivers and managing your clients. And then the CRM software, this is, as in my opinion, as your agency gets bigger and scales, that's where you'd want to bring in a CRM, and or you could bring one in, you know, a little like sooner, but you got to have leads and clients and things to be tracking. It wouldn't make sense to be paying for a software unless you get on a subscription that it's like very reasonable, and you could start out small and grow with that system. We use Monday.com, and actually we built out over decade of experience. I actually built out custom boards on Monday, so it's pretty it's pretty amazing, because I've been able to actually build out like custom boards for, you know, how to onboard a caregiver, how to track that, how to track all the different leads. There's different tags and automations. When a client signs an agreement, it's automatically posted into Monday, and then like staffing department is notified, and then everyone is tagged inside of there. In fact, I could do an entire video on that. But yeah, so that's the CRM that we use. It's more of like managing your leads, making sure that you're following up, because following up is key in this business. Oftentimes there might be a client or a prospect that's looking for services now, and maybe that they either choose another agency and then they're unhappy, and if you're that agency that continues to follow up, you'll convert them. Now other times, mom or dad went back in the hospital and they're waiting weeks for a discharge, and if you're continually following up and you're top of mind, that's just so important. So there's that. And then the other thing, the kind of like the last thing here, is like an HR platform. So you could choose if you want to use a third-party software. So for example, I know like ADP, they have a department called Total Source, and that's a PEO, which is a professional employer organization. And I would need to do like a whole nother video on that, because that's a whole nother thing. But essentially that's a way of onboarding your employees as under like this PEO, and then it just helps with HR compliance. And in my opinion, it's when your agency gets bigger, after like at least 15 to 20 employees, it would make sense to have that, but not to start out. You could definitely use, there's other like smaller HR platforms that are built for small businesses that just need help making sure that all of your compliance and everything is in check. I know it's so boring on the HR stuff, but you really got to make sure, this is a people-based business, and you've got to make sure that your stuff is all in compliant and everything is up to board. Just make sure life's so much easier. And then communication tools that, like we use, for Golden Age Companions, we use Slack, and I know like WhatsApp, you can build groups in there too, but yeah, we actually have like tags for all the different clients and caregivers. So as we bring on a new client, we're actually like tagging with our department of what's been going on, and it's really effective, because when you're staffing a new case and there's a client coming on, there's a lot of initial communication that's going on, and then as that client gets monitored, the communication tapers off a little bit. You're still checking in on them, but it's making sure that what caregiver is going to show up, what time are they going to get there, who's interviewing, who's coming in the pipeline to maybe interview for the job. I mean, there's just so much that is happening when you're bringing on a new case. So I really like Slack. It keeps your team cohesive and everybody on the same page. And by the way, my home care agency blueprint program, we have access to all of this stuff. We have pre-built templates and everything. So I teach you on how to build all this and set it up. And we even have packages where we essentially do everything for you. So, and by the way, if you are liking this video, if you're feeling like you're getting some value out of it, please like and subscribe. I would appreciate that. And as far as like going over the softwares, the only other thing that I would say is, yeah, just like reporting and analytics, that's just like a given. Like almost all these softwares have some type of reporting. The only thing I'll say there is it's just good as an owner of your own agency to be reviewing these reports and seeing, it's getting like having the pulse of your business to make sure that things are being done the way they're supposed to be done, and leads are being converted and whatnot. In fact, I made a special chart inside of Monday.com that actually pulls in like what leads got converted from what sources, how many were lost, how many are pending, how many were quoted. So because there's all these tags in there, and it makes it really nice because I can go in there and look and see exactly what's going on. And yeah, as far as the bonus at the end of the video here, I just want to let you know, I will put in the description below, I'm going to add in a Google Doc link I'm going to provide resources of different scheduling softwares and even some like payroll processing softwares providers that you can use. And it's just like literally a non-biased list. It's a list of what I know of that you can use for your home care business, and that I either have had experience with or I would just overall recommend. And yeah, thank you for coming to the video. If you are interested in working with me for my home care agency blueprint course, please book a call with me in the link there's a link in the description below. It's my Calendly link that comes directly to me, and we can talk about how you would like to start and scale your own home care business if you're looking at getting into this. So, you know, if you're a nurse and working in the healthcare field and whatnot, it's this is something where you just got to have the resource and education, and you'll do so well because, you know, just being integrated in healthcare already, you already have all the connections. If you don't worry about that. We have a whole, you know, mastermind and everything on how to market and scale and start your agency. Bringing back to, you know, I started my own agency. I was working at Starbucks. I mean, it's like, and I was 21 years old. So I always say, if I could do it, anybody can do it, because I was young and very inexperienced. I didn't have any of these resources. I had to kind of like figure everything out, and I just always came back to, I knew I've got to get a client, however that happens, whether it's a referral, a friend, or, you know, a chamber event, whatever it is. I got to get a client and then hire the caregiver and match them, and then just set up. I honestly, like, when I very first started, I was setting these things up as I was going, because I didn't have enough funds to like pay for everything up front, so it just took longer. Alrighty, so that was an overview of the softwares and some insight from me on what you would need to start up your own home care agency on the software side of things. One thing I did not mention is the cost. A lot of these softwares are not as expensive as you would think. You know, I know like Monday.com is $30 to $40 a month. Slack is $10 to $25 a month. I know, like, depending on which scheduling software you use, you're billed by the active client you have in there. So, you know, like, adding up all the cost, we have an entire blueprint on what the calculations will be. And yeah, I mean, it's not as expensive. It does add up if you're just adding on unnecessary software. So it's really important to, you know, kind of like trim the fat at the beginning, make sure that you're only using the necessary softwares. And that's where I always swing back to my coaching. That's what we're here for. We will help you identify exactly what you need up front and make sure that you're set up for success, because the less money you're spending on everything else in your business, the more profit and just more money that you can put into like marketing and growing it and all that stuff, all that fun stuff. So thank you again for coming to this video, and if you haven't already, like and subscribe, and my Calendly link is below to book a call with me if you're interested in starting up your own home care business. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next video.